Good morning. It's Wednesday, June 22nd, and today I want to talk about Mike Pence. Now, Donald Trump knew his supporters were storming the Capitol when he tweeted that Mike Pence lacked courage and caused the rioters to surge, according to the J6 committee. And Trump told the Proud Boys, his men, the Proud Boys, to stand by and stand back. And the Proud Boys actually intended to kill Mike Pence. And when the crowd screamed, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence," Trump said Pence deserved it. So because of the big lie that the election was rigged, which might be the most traitorous fabrication in American history, so because Pence refused to accept this fabrication, in my mind, that meant he was a stand-up guy and he knew the difference between truth and lies. But that is turning out not to be the case. And Pence has now fallen several notches below where I had placed him after his actions on January 6th. His actions on January 6th made me believe that he was a mensch. And in Yiddish, a mensch means a very good man, a stand-up guy. But in a recent television interview on Fox News, talking to Larry Kudlow of Fox, Pence has proved to me that he's nothing but a lousy politician. He's nothing but a man who seeks political advantage. And in his mind, political advantage is attacking the current president and the Democrats. And so he's gone from a mensch to a schlemiel. Oh, he's not even a schlemiel, because a schlemiel is nothing, But he's gone way down, in my opinion of him. Because Pence on Monday said he'd never seen a president who does lie as much as Joe Biden. He says Joe Biden has told so many falsehoods that it's unthinkable that he is in office. And he refused to say lies, so he called them falsehoods. And he said, have you ever seen a president who refused to accept blame and commits so many falsehoods? I'm being very polite here, calling it falsehoods. Who on any given day out there is saying stuff that just isn't true. But Pence told Larry Kudlow. And Kudlow said, have you ever seen anything like this before? And Pence replies, never in my lifetime. I said today that there has never been a time in my life when the president was more disconnected from the American people. Now, I have to admit that Biden's connection to the American people is much different than Trump's connection to the American people. So maybe in Pence's view, that difference in connection with the American people is what he's talking about. But it's clear to me that if Pence considered the connection between Trump and the American people something good, then he's off his wall, whatever wall he was hanging on. Maybe Pence has the memory problem. Maybe Pence has forgotten Trump's pressured campaign to convince Pence to illegally block the certification of the election results. Maybe Pence has forgotten that Trump called him a pussy because he refused to block the certification. Maybe he calls him a pussy because he was running away from the crowd during the riot on the morning of January 6th. Has Pence forgotten all of these things? Or has he conveniently put them aside and gone to the one place where he could say these things out loud to a large percentage of Trump fans by saying these things to Larry Kudlow on Fox News? Would Pence have appeared on CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, or any of those other channels to say these ridiculous things? They wouldn't even broadcast anything like this. It's insane that he can make a statement like that Biden is the most dishonest president. It's unbelievable to me that Pence refuses to acknowledge that he did the bidding of President Trump, a pathological liar, for over 4 years. Right? He hung in there with this man for over 4 years. He has not stepped forward and challenged Trump and said this was the big lie. He did his duty, but he never, as far as I know, came out and said President Trump is lying about this whole thing. So if he has failed to call President Trump a liar, how can we believe that he says that Biden is the biggest liar? If you can't call a spade, as they say, then you have no business mentioning it. When you're so far off base and you've just worked for one of the biggest liars that ever existed. Now, politicians, we know, always stretch the truth one way or the other. And sometimes it's very hard to pin them down and say they lied. But it's not hard to pin President Trump down and say he lied, because he'll say one thing today and tell you tomorrow he didn't say it, and he broadcast it all over Fox News, and everybody heard him say it. So this only shows me one thing about Pence, that he's willing to do anything to preserve his future in the Republican Party. This attack on Joe Biden is not really true in the sense that he believes that Biden's the biggest liar that ever held the presidency. But it's an indication that Pence has designs on running as the presidential candidate in 2024. And so this is the way he's launching his campaign. A large attack on Biden, and virtually nothing about his 4 years of being a lackey for President Trump. And we all know, even Republicans will admit, that Trump is not the most honest person in the world. But for some reason he has engendered a huge contingent of followers. And that's what Pence is after. He wants to capture the votes from the Trump followers. So if he doesn't do that, then he has little or no chance of winning the candidacy or the presidency in 2 years from now. And I leave you with that this morning. The dishonesty of a vice president. Have a great day.